What is up, Caleb? It's great to have you here. I'm excited to host you on the Roof Monkey podcast. And I gotta say, when you reached out to me, I felt pretty happy. I was honored because it makes me feel good that people actually want to be on my podcast. So once again, thank you for being here today.
Leah, thank you for having me. I'm super excited for this. It's been on my calendar. I've been looking forward to it. And it's the Roof Monkey podcast. Who doesn't want to be on that, right? We're all roof monkeys at heart. So, yeah, thanks for having me. And I'm glad that we could set aside some time and do this.
Yeah, of course. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into this industry, what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I'm not like a lot of guys that were like, oh, my back's against the wall and I've just got to come up with something and do it. Like, I was born into this. The roofing industry I didn't choose it, it chose me. So, my dad goes way back in the 80s and the 90s in our area as a roofing contractor, but he started out as like a home builder and a commercial metal buildings builder. And he had these guys that just kept messing up all of his roofing. It would be leaking all the time. And so he's like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So he started looking into it. He started, taking the classes that were available for him at that time. Obviously being a licensed home builder and a commercial builder, he was able to, have the basics of that. So he was in California on vacation, and he saw these guys that are part of the union out there doing all this roofing. So he starts watching these guys, and then he hires on with a crew while he's out there on vacation and starts working. And so he starts teaching himself that way. Well, meanwhile, one of my mom's brothers was in the roofing industry back here in Mississippi. And so he kind of teamed up with him, and they started making the rounds in the central Mississippi area doing repairs and roofing. And then it just progressed from there to where he transitioned from doing a lot of building to where he developed a roofing company, residential roofing and sheet metal, and just took it from there. And so growing up with him as my dad, it wasn't like, hey, just sit at home on summer break and spring break. It's like get on the truck and come to work with me. I don't know if they knew what to do with me. Nowadays they have different, diagnoses for what kids have problems with. But I just moved around a lot. I made a lot of noise, and mom and dad, they didn't know what to do. And my mom was going to go crazy. And so she's like, here, take him with you to work when you go to work. So when I got to work, I was expected not to just sit in the truck and eat snacks all day. I can remember being 7, 8 years old out there picking up trash on the job sites. And, from there, it just like, all right, start bringing me some shingles up the ladder. All right, start picking up trash. So, I'm 10, 11, 12 years old, picking up trash, bringing shingles up the ladder. And it just progressed from there to where I worked with the guys. Dad would drop me off with a stack of material. And it's like, by the time I get back this afternoon, this roof needs to be done. And so I would do that. And then I would start managing the crews for him. And, so on and so forth. And here I am, all these years later, I'm still alive. I've got a few bumps and bruises and scrapes from along the way, but I love roofing. The roofing industry just courses through my blood. So that's kind of how I got to where I'm at in the roofing industry.
And where are you currently at?
So I'm in the Jackson, Mississippi, and the central Mississippi area. And so our service area is central Mississippi, but obviously we go statewide. And I've been invited by other roofing contractors and home builders to go outside of the state and work on their projects and do consulting for them.
Wow, that's amazing. That's truly amazing. So what is your company offer?
So Copper Masters Roofing, everybody thinks, oh, you're just doing, high-end copper work, or you're just a metal guy. Well, yeah, we do all those things, but we offer a wide range of, roofing, anything from shingle roofing and roof replacements through the insurance process, all the way up to, stand and seam copper. Copper flashings is one of the biggest things that's close to my heart. So that's kind of like what we offer is anything to do with roofing. I can take you from the highest end that you want to be all the way down to, more budget friendly things. I don't like to say budget friendly, but, cost effective things that can get you there. I'm just not willing to do certain things, to just make a buck, when I know at the end of the day, it's going to cause the homeowner grief. And then I don't like having a lot of callbacks.
Exactly, exactly. Budget friendly. I feel like one of the main topics going around in roofing right now is financing. Is that something that your company offers?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different options with finance, and I mean, in our area, we've like probably maybe 24 or 25 of the last 25 projects have all been insurance projects. And so, the insurance company is taking care of that. And so the homeowners, their investment in the whole situation is just a couple of grand. And so we've got some very friendly finance options through our CRM that we use, and it allows the homeowner to extend that out for pennies on the dollar, so to speak, as far as what that is. But for the most part, our homeowners have a couple of $1,000. I know that's hard to come up with, but they pay those deductibles because they recognize at the end of the day, that we've given them value in their roof. They don't have to pay 20, 30, 40 grand for a roof. They pay their deductible, that we play by the rules, and everybody walks away, happy at the end of the day.
Is your company carrying that insurance process through and through for that homeowner?
Yeah. So, we from the first initial call, somebody may call us out and say, "Hey, we need 8 bids," or whatever they're trying to get, and or they just may call us up from Google and be like, "Hey, we see you guys." Or they follow us on social media. I get a lot of requests from that, and I'll go out there. And if it's a retail project, then fine, we'll walk them through that. But quite often, you know how it is, it's going to turn out to be an insurance process because of the hail damage or wind damage. We've had a ton of storms throughout our region, and so we get out there, we locate the damage for them, we document it for them, we kind of give them the playbook, so to speak, and we help walk them through from cradle to grave on that insurance process. They have a brand new roof, we walk away, they've got great value, and we're able to make a living and pay our bills at the end of the day.
So with your copper, are you guys rolling it and shaping it on site, or are you guys pre-bending it before arriving at the job site?
Yeah, so we try to do most of the pre-bending for the panels and things like that at the shop, and then we deliver that out to the site. But you know how it is, every roof is not the same, unfortunately. And so when we get out there, we have a mobile bend station where we've got a aluminum vinyl brake that's a little more heavier duty. It's a commercial brand, and we're able to take that and take the pieces and custom bend them to fit that specific need for whatever we're doing on that job site.
Yeah, I've been watching the videos, and I think that's amazing how you get upfront and personal with the jobs, and the videos that you're putting out are very informative. And I think that's number one in informing a homeowner and letting them know exactly what you're doing, and not just what you're doing, why you're doing that.
Yeah.
To try just to make them as comfortable as possible with the whole process.
That's it, because a lot of people don't work on their house all the time, and so it's a scary process. And so I've built my company and my brand and my reputation, and I don't care how big I get. I'd like to think if I was this huge conglomeration in town or something like that, that I'd like to be on every project some kind of way. Now I know that's like hard to do, these days, but to this day, there's not one project that we do through our company that I don't have some personal attachment to. Whether I'm one of the salesmen that sells the job, or while the crew is building it, I'm one of the project managers. I have no problem going out there and working all day long with the guys, working for them really, and making them as comfortable as possible. Now I'm not able to get up there anymore like I used to, as long as I used to, and actually nail the shingles on. But when it comes to that copper work, I like to be right there as much as possible. I've got a great team in place. I've got good project managers. I've got an excellent crew that I've been working with for over 15 years, and they know how I like things. I know how they like things, but I like to get up there and still, do my soldering and do my bending as much as I can. And I just like putting, my blood, sweat, and tears on that project. And when I walk away, I know the customer has the very best, project that I can build for them. I pride myself in not having a lot of callbacks. Maybe in the last year, I've had, 1 or 2 or 3 callbacks where it was just a little small issue where a shingle was mislapped or something. It could very easily be taken care of, instead of like these huge problems that I see other companies dealing with.
I think that's where a lot of companies run into their issues, is because they subcontract. I think you know what I mean by that. They
Yep.
subcontract these jobs, and they have no idea who's showing up out there. And they can't control when that happens because they start to get so many callbacks that they're just like, all right, it is what it is. I can't help you. And I think that's one thing that sets apart a good company from a great company.
Yeah. And I get it. I'm not trying to bash anybody that you're in business to make money and to grow your business and scale, right? But you can get so big so fast that there's so many areas that things can fall through the cracks, so to speak. And so my dad used to have a waiting list of 8 months, a year and a half, that people would gladly wait for him to come do the project. There was no question. Hey, if you can just make it dry or secure it until you can get to the project. Even new construction, we had customers wait 6 months, 8 months to put a roof on, just a shingle roof. And so they're like, if you can just secure the project, we'll wait on you. But now we're in the time of Amazon where it's click and point and it arrives at your door like a couple of hours or maybe even an hour or the next day. And roofing is just not that way. And so I try to take my time with the company and where I'm at. I know I'm not going to be one of the biggest guys in town, but in between there, I want to give the most quality. And so I like to take it slow and have the reins on the growth so that, we can have good quality. Because if you got good quality, then you have a good name, you have a good reputation. And that's ultimately going to lead to you having a successful career in the long run. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah, and I'm glad this came up because I have a podcast dropping soon with Jim Johnson. I'm not sure if you know him. And I had a really good conversation with him. We really dove into this, is how some companies will skip those steps of that system and that company will just fold. And then, people look back and they're like, well, why did my company just fold into pieces? And that's the exact reason why, because I think we do it subconsciously because we don't know any better.
Yeah. So those companies grow and there's all this volume of jobs and this volume of money and they're robbing, this job to pay this job. And then they get behind, or they have this lifestyle that they portray on social media or in their community, this flex. And they're just, it's just bound and determined to fall at some point. And if it doesn't, great. But I guarantee you the contractor that finally makes it after bumping his head against the wall has a lot of horror stories to tell. Fortunately for us, if we have a customer, we build their job with their money. And we don't collect any money up front until the day that we're doing the job. When material and men start going, we collect money that they have up to date from the insurance company and their deductible. We put that in our bank account and pay our bills as we go. When my men finish with that job, they have a check in their hand. My salesman has his, commission off of that, run through there for him. So everything is taken care of. And I believe if you take your time, it doesn't allow for a glitz and glam lifestyle. But at the same time, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. You build a good reputation in your community, people are going to know who you are. Whereas if you're building a bad reputation, trust me, it gets around. You can only hide it for so long. And then you're bound and determined to fall, or you're going to have to close up shop and open in a new name, or get new investors involved, or even move, or go to jail. I mean,
Yeah, and I think it all comes down to what is more important to you, that glamorous life or doing the right thing. And one of my questions was going to be is what sets you apart, but I don't even think I have to ask that.
It's not popular at all to be set apart. At the end of the day, a roof, most part, it's a shingle roof or a metal roof. It's the same material. There's a few different brands. There's a few different ways of going about it. But at the same day, it's all going to be done that way. But I think what sets us apart as different contractors is who you are as a contractor, a company owner, a teammate in a company, and that culture that you have within your company of doing things the right way trickles out to the community, and they recognize that.
Yeah, and once they recognize that, it just goes from there. It's one of the best advertisements for our company is word of mouth and referrals. I feel like you can put billboards up all over the place. You can run any ad you want to, but if you don't have what you just explained, there's going to be nothing there. Yeah. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So that's how I am. I'm not going to be the biggest company in town. They've got billboards everywhere. They've got the radio ads. They've got the TV ads. But guess what? I'm sitting down at some of the same homeowners that have their 3 or 4 different bids in their lap already, and I'm one of the guys sitting down with them.
Mm-hmm.
Or I come back behind some of the big guys in town, no naming names or anything like that, but I see their felt and their underlayment when we go to tear off copper flashings or tear off large sections of roof that need to be fixed because they went on through and they pushed through and got the roof part of this 90 square roof, but a $2,000-3,000 copper dormer was going to take another 6 months to hassle out with the insurance company. So they just cut their ties, did the roof, put some caulk on the dormer, and kept rolling with it. Well, they left the homeowner holding all that, damage up there that was still leaking, causing rotting decking and drywall to fall in and buckling of the wood floors. And so it just goes to show that it comes back around. So it doesn't matter what you see all over the place. It comes back to what that company is made up of, from the ground up.
Yeah, and at that point, it's even more headache for the homeowner because they have to worry about how they're going to get that claim rolling again. Because in the insurance company's eyes, they don't know anything about roofing. They think it's taken care of.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that amazes me is like a lot of people are intimidated. I think a lot of sales reps, I should say, are intimidated by the insurance company. They're scared to get into that industry because they have this notion that they're big, scary people because they don't understand how to deal with them. And if you just take a moment, do some research, do some training on it, it'll help you a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen it. Like people have been bashing me on some of the posts that I've made or the reels on, trying to do a shingle repair. They're like, "Oh, you're no roofer. You're wearing, a button-up polo and all this. You can just replace that shingle tab." Well, they don't know there's 55 more damaged shingles on all 4 slopes of this roof, and you've got this customer that's like religiously paid. All these years they've paid their insurance premiums, right? On time, every time. And here they finally have a hailstorm that's legitimate, or a windstorm that's legitimate. And they've got all these damaged, shingles. Well, you got these guys that'll just go and damage more shingles to replace one. And next thing you know, your roof looks like Swiss cheese. Or the next storm that comes through, it starts lifting the ones around the ones you repaired. So that's why it's so important to go through the insurance process for your customer's sake. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could take some quick buck or do something like that, but you leave your customer. Now they've got a filed claim on their house record, and then it was unpaid. You might as well not even filed a claim and just charge them a couple $1,000 to fix it. But if you're going to have your customer file a claim, walk it through the process. And if you don't know, there's plenty of different classes and people that you can learn from out there to do it, or hire those people in your team or those different, third-party companies to help your customer walk through that process. And that's one thing about us is if it's legitimate, it starts with if it's legitimate damage or not, right? Mm-hmm. I have too much going on. Our company is doing too much for me to sit there and file a claim or have the homeowner file a claim for something that's not going to be a legitimate claim. So if we have them file a claim, it's going to get walked through eventually. Now, we've had some that take 2 or 3 weeks. The insurance company does exactly what they're supposed to do the first time. And some of them will deny it and will reinspect, deny it, reinspect it, shingle test, repairability. Does it match? Is it a discontinued? And it's taken sometimes 6 months, 8 months, a year. And I've even heard of some things going up 2 years. Mm-hmm. Before the insurance, but the insurance pays for it. It's like, oh yeah, there is damage. Okay, and they pay for it. Well, here we've drugged the customer out. And then they're looking at us as contractors. Then they look at their insurance company, and it just gives them this bad taste in their mouth all the way around. If we're doing what we're supposed to be doing as contractors from the get-go, and insurance companies are reciprocating that for their customers, for our mutual customer, right? Then everybody's taken care of. So yes, it should be walked through, but it comes back to, is it legitimate or not,
Mm-hmm. And I think like the biggest misunderstood concept in the insurance industry for homeowners is, well, if I file a claim, my premium's going to go up. And I always love when they tell me that because I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And because no matter if they file a claim or not, if that insurance company decides to choose that zip code, it's going to go up. So I love to tell them it's going to go up either way. You have the damage, you're really not missing out on anything. And that leads into two, yes, if there's literally enough damage. If there's not enough damage, don't be that homeowner or that contractor that's just going to file a claim for a $1,200 paycheck. Like, just do the small repair, gain a customer in the long run. You're going to gain a referral off of that for helping that homeowner out. You're going to win all the way around compared to just fighting, like you said, fighting that insurance company for 6 or 7 months. It's not worth it for anybody.
Yeah. No, I believe in that too. Like you said, it goes back to that company culture, who you are as a contractor or an individual in your organization. And when it comes to it, is it a legitimate claim? And then if it's not, just be honest about it. Like there's more out there, right? And I've even said no and told people, hey, you don't have any damage right now, or you do have some damage, but if I do a test square, there's not going to be enough right now. We can just do some minor repairs here or there. And they're so much more appreciative of that and the honesty. And then something else I like to do is just show them the pictures. I send them a link to our company cam, and it's like, here's 100 pictures of what happened on your roof while we were here with the insurance adjuster, or while our team was there doing the initial inspection. And I can't tell you how many people have referred me, or as soon as a storm hits, I get a phone call or a text. It's like, hey, I just had nickel size hail or pea size hail. I know it probably wasn't enough, but could you please come check our roof again? We just want to be sure. And I'll go out there and, no, you're still good. Or, hey, some of that nickel size hail was actually quarter size or, golf ball size before it really, started going with the pea size hail. And then we'll go from there. So you've got that customer from life. I've got customers from 5 or 6 years ago that I denied them. I said, no, don't file a claim. You don't even need us to do anything. I'm not even going to charge you anything. And then they call us 3 years later when a major hailstorm comes through, and they're like, hey, I'm ready, and 3 of my neighbors are ready, and I'm sure we're going to refer you to more people. So honesty pays in the long run, and I believe in that.
Yeah, and I've even had it happen that even if that homeowner doesn't go through the insurance company, they will still hire you for a residential repair out of pocket because it needs to be done. And you were the only one to be upfront honest with them, because I think companies' reps will get this notion that if the homeowner wants to use the insurance company, so if they don't push them in the right direction, they're going to lose that lead. They're going to lose that sale. And that alone will lose the sale.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I've had that happen so many times. And then I've even had it happen where I've told them no, and they'd already called a couple of contractors, and they've come out there and they've tried to walk them through this process. And then it's this huge ordeal, or the contractor doesn't have the bandwidth to go through with an insurance claim that they've tried to get this person to file. And now our poor customer is left, holding the bag. They didn't get the claim approved. Now they got to come out of pocket with all this money over a deductible. And it's just a shame, if we're just upfront and honest as contractors and just move on to the next one and just say, hey, I'll check back with you. Or, hey, here's a repair. It's going to cost you $1,200. Your deductible is $2,000. We'll go ahead and take care of this. Or your deductible is $2,000 and the repair is going to be $2,500. Let's just take care of this, put you on a payment plan if you need it, and then go from there. And then let's wait for the big storm when it does happen.
100% agree with you there. Did you train yourself on insurance? Did you go through training for insurance or?
Yeah. So just through the hard knocks of life, growing up, and not having the bandwidth and busting my head against the wall, so to speak, with it. And then I've been privileged to have a couple of friends in the industry that have helped walk me through that to get some initial training as to like what I need to do better. And then I've been able to, pair with them for supplementing and things like that. So I've gone through a couple of different supplementing companies over the years and have had that training. And I've got a really good supplement company that we get them to get it to a certain point. And once they get it to a certain point, then I've got a guy in my back office now that just loves, making those phone calls, and I can't do it, but the guy loves clocking in and making those phone calls and getting hung up on. And and doing what's right for our customer. So fortunately, I have a good team in place, and I'm using a good third-party supplement company to kind of take that hat off of our company so we can focus on giving our customers a good, experience while we're doing the roof for them. So, yeah, some training and having a good team in place and going and getting additional training. Like I've been to the John Scenic, master class and things like that. And I've taken my back office guy with me to those classes so that he can have the same training that I've gotten.
How much have you seen your close rate increase via insurance with the supplement companies?
Almost 100%. There's very few that we turn over to that supplement company. And I'll just say the name. You can edit it if you need to, but CSS, they're just a great company. And I've seen a great close rating and a success with them. And then when we kick in and we do the little bit of extra that they didn't get to, or we forgot about, then that's good. And then after we build the job, we turn in for the post job supplements if it's necessary, if there was something that we built along the way. And it's just been very valuable for us to do that. That close rating has gone up. We're actually getting paid for the work that we already do, right? So many contractors leave money on the table because they do all this work, or they don't supplement. They don't deal with the insurance company right, and the job isn't paid enough, and then they don't do the work, like take all the felt off, take all the shingles off, inspect the decking. Does the flashing up beside the wall have nail holes in it? Is it up to code? Is it only sticking out 2 inches, or is it properly 4.5 inches for your state, right? But they don't fight that. They don't do any of that. And so that's why it's important to supplement, to see the insurance process all the way through for your customer. So you can sit back on build day with confidence and do all the work that you're supposed to so that the customer has a good product at the end of the day. So yeah, having the supplement team in place, having my back office guy in place has just made that close rating go all the way up, 80, 90, 100%.
Now, I do all of my own supplementing on my insurance job. So at what point do you turn your claims over? Are you turning them over to the supplemental company as soon as you get them filed, or once you get that scope of loss back?
So as soon as we get that scope back from the insurance company, we just turn that in with our Eagle View and let them do it. It takes about 20 days, 21 days, give or take, and we're ready to build. We get a notification back, hey, you're ready to build. And so, unless there's something that was greatly missed in that process, we go ahead and build it. And as we're going through the project, if there's something that we didn't see on the front end, maybe 4 layers of felt from 4 previous roofs, or anything, any number of things. We've just did a job yesterday and today that my crew is doing. They're sending me pictures of the flashing, so it's up to code. It's 4.5 inches out, but it's riddled with nail holes and it's under stucco. And so now we're having to cut the flashing out of the stucco, put new flashing. So we're taking pictures and documenting that so that we can supplement it on the back end, because I'm not leaving that there. A lot of guys will just tuck some ice and water underneath, or if they do that, some felt, and they're just going about it. I just can't do it, at the end of the day. So it's important to use those things to your advantage while you're doing that. And a lot of people do just like you. They do all the supplementing and fighting themselves. I just don't have the time. I'd rather be out there focusing on the customer experience, the people who work for me, the men that do all the hard, hot, sweaty, nasty roof work. I want to be able to show up with the refreshments. I want to be able to get out there and pick up trash with them. I want to lay all over the yard at lunch with them if I can, if I have the time. I want to go door knock and reach as many customers around that build so that they understand that we can help them too. And so I've decided just to, from the time I get the insurance scope, hand that off to them. And for 21 days on that claim, we don't have to touch anything, basically. Just a little bit of going back and forth if we need with them. And it's led to not only a higher close rate, but a better, quality of job, a better customer experience, and a better reputation throughout the community.
I think the hardest thing about supplementing is getting the insurance company to respond to you. If you think a homeowner trying to get a hold of a contractor that's ghosting them is hard, someone should try and get a hold of an insurance company.
Look, we were all in the office. We had this huge team meeting that we have every 2 weeks, right? and we're there, and my guy's like, hey, I got a call coming in from, the big red company. And so he steps in his office and shuts the door, and you can just hear the back and forth and the stupidity of the desk agent, right? And it's just like, that doesn't even make a lick of sense. Or calling and spending 45 minutes on hold with an insurance company, and you try to give them the claim information and everything, and click, they hang up on you. And then you call back and you're on hold for another 25 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, I must have hit a button and got, click, and they hang up again. Everything about that is just so aggravating. So imagine a homeowner, they get aggravated and they want to give up. If us as contractors want to give up, what chance do they have? And so that's why we should fight for them and make those phone calls and do all that,
Yeah, and I know you don't supplement. You said you don't do your own supplementing, but I'm just going to throw this out there for the viewers. What I find works best for me when supplementing with an insurance company is emailing them. I don't care if I have to email them once or twice a day if they're not responding to me, but I found via phone call, nothing is documented on the contractor's end. So if that insurance adjuster, that desk adjuster is telling you something, I've already had, believe it or not, I've had adjusters. I won't say insurance company names, but I've had desk adjusters tell me something over the phone, and the following day go back on their word. And so I think it's best, like I said, even if you have to email them up to 4 times a day. Sometimes I do. If that desk adjuster is ignoring me, he, she, whatever, I'm going to get after you until you respond. But I found the best thing is getting that response written down so you can also tag the homeowners, and the homeowners can see, hey, it's not the contractor dragging this on, it's my insurance company. And 90% of the time when homeowners see that, it spurs them on to actually help you out, and they themselves will start contacting their insurance company in your honor, in your defense, saying, why are you treating my contractor like this? And it helps the claim overall. I mean, it doesn't always happen that way, but most of the time it will.
Yeah, no, the same thing is true. We find that absolutely the best thing to do is that communication, those emails, and including your homeowner early as you can in the process. Learn some of that from the John Cena class. Just getting the customer involved as soon as possible, and setting different parameters from the get-go, and pulling out all the stops for them. It helps out. But like you said, those emails. But we've even seen where you email adjuster, 10 times, and then you finally, why aren't you responding? It's like, respond to me, and then you call and they're like, oh yeah, he's been reassigned to a different region, or, this claim has been moved to this. And so you've been trying to email adjuster for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and it's moved to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And so you got to find out who that person is. Like, oh, and then they don't know anything about it, so to speak. And like, oh, I only see what they're in the notes. Let me look at it. And then that takes a week. It's like every interaction takes a week. And so, yeah, I get it. Like, doing it yourself is great. And everybody should at least try to do it themselves. And if they can't, they just don't have the bandwidth, or they're focusing on something else, use those supplement companies and get the right supplement company.
Yes, because some of those supplement companies, they will do the same thing as an insurance company. They'll just run off with your money, basically.
That's it.
And and it's not about saving the insurance company money. I mean, that can be taken in so many different directions to explain that.
Make billions of dollars. For every 1 or 2 people that leave the back door and give up on them or get frustrated, they've got 7 or 8 or 10 more customers coming in, and they make billions of dollars at what they're doing. And we have these homeowners that pay for 20 years, 30 years religiously, and so this little widow and her husband passed away 15 years ago, and now she has this hailstorm, and then she gets a denied claim. Oh, it's just so aggravating.
What do you do with your denied claims?
We turn them into approved claims. We get the homeowner to ask for the re-inspections, and we go back. And when they deny them again, we go back. Like I said in the beginning, if I've told the customer, hey, here's the damage, here's the pictures, here's the proof, it's time to file a claim, then it means that claim needs to be filed, approved, and you get a new roof. And so I take it very personally when the company is out there and their adjuster or their third party adjuster is saying all the right things and they're putting all these marks on. And then next thing you know, the homeowner calls me back 30 minutes later. It's like, oh, I got a denied claim. You were wrong. It's like, wait a minute. Let's go back over the process. And then I always make sure that we get them right back through the process. And that's what I said. It takes 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year and a half. But if I tell you that you probably should file a claim, then that's what I mean,
Yeah. And if you're ever on the fence about it, it's kind of good to get a second set of eyes just to make sure,
Exactly.
Just to be sure that what you're seeing, what damage you're seeing, the other person is seeing. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or a bad inspector. It doesn't hurt to get another set of eyes before you file a claim.
I've met adjusters out there in the field, either for the big insurance companies or their third-party companies that were working as car salesmen, a few months ago, or retired engineer from some, company, and what he did was like just engineer all the technical stuff. I've seen it all. I've heard it all. It's crazy what I've heard and seen over the years. And so you've got this big group of, non-roofing industry professionals that all of a sudden out here adjusting catastrophes and roofing, and they don't even know what a roof is made of 3 months earlier. You know what I'm saying? And so it's very difficult. But I always tell my guys, my salesmen, my project managers, I said, if we get on a roof and we're looking at it, let's be sure of what we've got there. We're not going to tell the homeowner, if you guys are out and I'm not around, make sure you tell them, hey, we're going to get right back to you. We're going to make sure we look at these pictures in our office, on our computer, where we can scroll it up and make sure of what we're looking at if they're not sure. I'm like, don't tell them to file a claim if it's just not there,
Yeah, I'm going to go down a little rabbit trail here with you saying that. I will never forget one of my first ever adjuster meetings. I was on my own. I was a little bit nervous and just starting to get into the insurance company. And, we pull up and the roof's like 12, 10, 12. And I was like, how is he planning on getting up there? Like, if he gets up there, it's going to shock me. He pulls up, he gets his ladder out, and he's set his ladder up, and I can tell this dude's shaking in his boots. And he turns and he looks at me, he's like, were you up there? And I'm like, yeah, you want to see the pictures? Like, did you not see the pictures on the claim file? And I just kind of started chuckling. And he's like looking, and he like sets his ladder up, walks around the house, starts taking his photos, and he's like, I can tell by his actions he was not getting on that. And he came back around, he started climbing up his ladder, and he just kind of stopped, and he was looking at the roof, and he was like, yeah, I think I'll just buy this roof for you. And I just looked at him, I squinted my eyes, and the first thing in my mind, I was like, you are not going to buy this roof, I'm going to get a denial claim. And I was just like, okay. I was like, so are you going to write that up while you're here? No, I will give it to the desk adjuster. Okay, when will I get it back? By this afternoon, you'll get it back. So he goes and tells the homeowner that he's going to buy her roof, her gutters, and her siding, all three. And I'm sitting there with my hands in my head, just shaking my head because I was like, I knew this was not going to happen. Yeah. I knew it. Sure enough, next day she calls me and she's like, I got a denial claim.
Yeah. All right.
So I called.
Come back out and do the work that he was supposed to do the first time.
Yeah, called the desk adjuster, told them what happened. He told them that his son fell off the swing sets at school and broke his arm, and he had to leave. So he couldn't inspect the roof. So that's why they gave us a denial letter. Wow. So it's crazy what'll happen. And then we're portrayed as the contractor to be the bad person through it.
One of the things that gets at me the most is recently I drove an hour and a half to make this adjuster meeting, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm up there, and we get up there, and I'm just there like 3 days earlier. It had rained in between. I wished all my marks were there, but I did everything by the books, and had it marked. It wasn't overcomplicated. But we get up there, and he draws a box, and he just writes 0, 0 for wind and hail. And I'm like, you're standing right in the middle of this hail field. And he goes, well, this just looks like granule loss or blisters or something like that. He goes, well, if you'll make the marks, then I'll take pictures of it. I said, no, you've already zeroed the box out. So I know that's not going anywhere. I said, I tell you what, we'll just revisit this roof, when you're ready. And I got down because I'm not going to sit there and waste my time putting marks in a box that this guy's already zeroed out, right? And so we had to go back on the second reinspection on that project. And we finally, it's been 6 months, and I think we're just now getting it to where it's approved. And they're like, oh yeah, the desk adjuster's like, I can clearly see all the hail damage here in the pictures, even without chalk on it, So they're going to approve it. But we could probably make a whole podcast about all that type stuff.
Oh, you could 100%. Some of it would be very entertaining.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think us as contractors, we can constantly do better. But I mean, I think as insurance companies, they can do better too. The people that they're hiring should be knowledgeable experts on what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to put that out there. Like that's a no-brainer.
Exactly. And you can only imagine if we go to school to, or take classes or watch videos to learn how to be able to do right for our customers, no doubt they're spending that much time, energy, and effort training their people what to say, how to get around the loopholes, so they don't have to do what's right by the customer. I've heard it all, Leah. I've heard that a squirrel was in the tree throwing pine cones on this roof, and that's why it looked like hail damage. I mean, I have just heard it all,
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. But yeah, so to wrap up here, one thing I always ask at the end of my podcast is if someone was to get into the industry and maybe just starting out, or maybe they're in a rock and a hard place right now, what type of advice would you have for them?
Yeah, like literally, I've met all types of people in this industry. And what I can say is from experience, take your time when you get into the industry. Like you said, people may be in a rock and a hard spot when they come in here, or they may be a sales rep working for another company. And they're like, oh, look at all this money that can be made out here. But take your time and build your company the right way. The two most important things on a structure, whether it's a residential building or a commercial building, are the foundation and the roof of the structure, and then what you build inside, right? And so if you have that good foundation, I would say taking care of making sure that you have the proper view of finances, and you're not commingling funds, and you don't see this company bank account as your personal spend limit, So having that finance part set up right, that's your foundation. And then how you build that company culture in between. Are you guys doing things by the book? Are you licensed? Are you insured? Are you pulling permits when you're doing jobs like you're supposed to be? All these things help build that. And then here you have a nice roof of sales. And so you've got good sales team involved in it. And things are going honestly and by the books. That's what I would say to any guy that's thinking about getting in the industry. Try it out, but there's a lot involved in it. So if you're at a good company and you're making good money there, consider staying there, because once you step out, you need to do those things right. Otherwise, it's going to be just like we hear, Leah, that 3 to 5 to 6 year range, your company is going to be out the door, or you're going to have a bad reputation in the industry. Now, if you don't care about those things, then just go at it and do what you want to do. But if you do care and you want to have something that's standing there, is long lasting, something to give your family or your team, and let them buy you out. Or if you do build this big, good, smooth running, company, and you want to sell it out at the end and leave, have something there that's good and solid to stand on. Don't build this like shaky house of cards. Do it right from the get go.
100% agree with you, and wonderfully said. Once again, I just want to thank you for being on the Roof Monkey podcast. I enjoyed our time very much.
Thank you. Do you ever end it by just like, hoo, 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 Roof Monkey?
No, I'm trying to come up with a slogan. I've been having a hard time with that, though. I'm not sure why, but I'm working on it.
The Roof Monkey podcast for all you roof monkeys out there. But yeah, thank you so much for having me and taking time out of your day to have me. I really appreciate it. And you're doing a great job with your podcast. I'm looking forward to more seasons to come.
Thank you. Thank you very much.